I guess if we could start by talking about the press release that was sent out about Michigan retail sales dipping in June. Can you provide is I guess is there an explanation for that, or is it just the data?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is it really is just the data. The J months can typically be slower months for retail, January, June, July. We see a dip typically immediately following the holiday season. And then the summer months can be slower for traditional retail, even with the increase in tourism and travel and, the wonderful weather that we have in Michigan. The J months can be slower for retail. So we do expect to see that. However, the retail index is seasonally adjusted. So seeing a dip in June does reflect a dip in sales. And we've been seeing a lot of volatility in the retail index this year. Compared to last year, for I think 8 months, the retail index barely moved more than 8 or 10 points. We stayed in the 40 range most of the year. And while we're very excited to see, some higher numbers throughout 2025, the volatility is something that we're certainly paying attention to because that's a big indicator that the market itself is unstable and retailers are feeling those impacts.
Is any of this, do you think, due to the I don't want to say like political instability, but like a lot of Americans are feeling like uneasy, or is there just a lack of confidence? Is that kind of part of it?
Yeah, so tariffs have certainly been a big factor that we've heard retailers talking about for months now. It wasn't specifically highlighted in this month's retail index, but we have heard from many retailers that the inconsistency around tariffs is really causing a lot of burden for their business, both on the administrative side of trying to keep up with what's being tariffed and by, in which from which countries and on what products, but also managing the consumer expectations and trying to build consumer confidence in current pricing because consumers are very sensitive right now with price changes. We're hearing so much tariff talk. It's they see these price increases in store and they want to know why. Is it because of the tariffs? Is it because their cost of materials is just generally increased or inflation? Or is there something else? Is it the cost of business changing? So consumers are certainly sensitive to those price changes right now, and retailers are doing their best to keep inventory on shelves and at as affordable of prices as they can for consumers.
And I know people have been hearing news about tariffs for quite a while since the Trump administration took over, right? And so I'm wondering, did we see an offset like earlier in the year? Maybe people were buying more to try to prepare for lower or higher tariffs or higher prices later on.
Yeah, so it's been a real mixed bag, and that again speaks to that inconsistency and uncertainty that retailers are facing because we do have consumers on both ends of the spectrum. Some consumers are, stockpiling. They stockpiled early on when tariffs were first announced to try and beat the tariff increases and stock up on all of the goods that they know they're going to need. But other consumers were feeling very hesitant to spend and wanting to hold on to, additional funds that are not buying more than what they know for sure that they need, and they're kind of waiting to see how things are going to pan out, but they're holding on to that financial security and, stockpiling funds instead of inventory. So on the retailer side, it makes it kind of complex to be able to navigate that because retailers plan several months in advance and inventory, a season in advance. So when you've got a small business trying to plan for the holiday season and we don't know what the tariff status will be during that time of year, our current tariffs are on a 90-day pause that's set to expire at the beginning of August. And, we're just a week away from that now with not as much clarity on what the rest of the year is going to look like. And with how inconsistent the tariff situation has been throughout the whole year, there's a lot of uncertainty in the business community around what the rest of the year will look like.
Do you think that I don't know if you can make any predictions, but I know back to school shopping is coming up. If people, at least if people haven't started already, will do you think that shoppers will shop as much as they did for back to school, or maybe try to lighten things? I guess how do you foresee that going?
Back to school shopping has started earlier than ever before. We do have like 67% of consumers have said that they're already starting that back to school shopping. So we are seeing a lot of consumers shop earlier and spread out the back to school expense over multiple pay periods or multiple months. That has been a trend not only for back to school shopping, but for pretty much every holiday season. We're seeing consumers shop earlier and earlier to help spread the expense out. As far as how much, so it actually is projected to increase this year for back to or for K-12 back to school shopping. Last year in 2024, national spending was 38.8 billion, and in 2025, NRF is projecting 39.4 billion for K-12. The college back to school actually makes up a larger portion of that back to school spending, which, we're looking at larger price tagged items like laptops and furnishing a dorm room. So that expense can be a lot more per person. But last year, the back to college spending was 86.6 billion, and this year it's projected to be 88.8. So an increase on both.
Is there any reason why that would change over year to year? Or they're just, or is it just kind of like, just I don't know if it's random or you know what I mean? I guess I'm just wondering why it might go from one year to another.
Yeah,
Uh,
it does. I mean, it's remained somewhat consistently increasing year over year for the past several years, since 2020. In 2020, the K-12 spending was 33.9. So we did see a peak in 2023 at 41.5 billion. So, it does fluctuate a little bit year to year. We see things like inflation, but also just shopping trends. Some years technology items may be hotter items that are, those higher price points, where other years we may have dips in that. This year, the average budget for electronics for K-12 is nearly $300, is 295 per person for that average on electronics in K-12.
how does the unemployment rate impact consumer spending, and how are we seeing it impact it now?
Certainly when unemployment rates are higher, there's less consumer confidence around being able to freely spend, especially on luxury items or, less of the day-to-day expenses. In our retail index, we do also like break down to see what types of industries experience the most increase or decrease month to month, as well as which types of regions. So depending on each month, we'll see swings in different states earlier or in different regions of the state. Earlier this year, the northern part of the state that had so many ice storms and such had significantly more decrease in sales compared to the southern part of the state that wasn't as heavily impacted. So we do see a lot of different factors that impact the overall state score, both regionally and statewide.
And I know you mentioned, some uncertainty as far as maybe the remainder of the year goes, but and I'm sorry if I touched on this already, but do you foresee, there like a rebound at all in consumer spending?
Yeah, our optimism score remains high. Retailers definitely have a spirit of resilience and determination. That optimism, our 3 month outlook has remained above that 50-point mark, which indicates hope for an increase in sales in the coming 3 months, or an expectation of increase in sales in the coming 3 months. So that optimism remaining high definitely is a good indicator that retailers are feeling hopeful that sales will increase as we wind down on summer and start to enter into the holiday season, as crazy as that sounds. We will start to see more like Halloween inventory coming out soon, and then holiday not too long after that. So with consumers spreading out their shopping for the holidays more and shopping earlier, we're certainly hopeful for strong sales trends in the months to come.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Vic. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. It was great to meet you.